Hey there. So, yeah, the honeymoon period that he experienced was temporary. And then after that, his drinking started to go back down again. I think from our interview, he said that it was a couple of months that his drinking spiked back up. You can see the full interview on our YouTube channel. But this is pretty darn typical for, I would say, most people who go on the Sinclair Method. Not all, but a lot of them, where they get started on naltrexone and their drinking almost immediately decreases by 20, 30, 50%. And it feels almost like a miracle pill, magic pill, and then after a month or two, the drinking goes back up again, perhaps even to pre-naltrexone levels. So people can often freak out at this point, understandably, or just assume, oh, the medicine isn't working anymore or it stopped working. But this is not true. If someone initially responds to naltrexone and sees a drink reduction, it's a great sign that they are a responder to the medication. But when the drinking creeps back up, it's really a signal to me for them to enter what I call phase 2 of the Sinclair Method, which is really where we encourage people to meet the medication halfway. And we do that by gradually over time changing our habits around drinking. A lot of people don't realize how much their drinking is done out of habit until they start on naltrexone, because naltrexone starts to quiet the craving, but then they will keep drinking anyway. For example, people often say, I didn't want to finish the whole bottle of wine, but I did it anyway. Or I didn't feel like drinking today, but I drank anyway. That's a signal that they're drinking more out of habit, and naltrexone is doing its job. So how can people gradually change their habits around drinking? Gradual is key. It doesn't need to be a massive change overnight, just little changes over time. The other thing that's really important is to create new coping skills. A lot of us use alcohol to cope after a stressful day or a tough life event, and naltrexone's not going to teach us new ways to cope. You know, if we've been habituated to coping with stress through alcohol for years or decades, that's a very strong coping habit. And so over time, people have to learn other ways to cope, because automatically the brain will think, oh, I've had a bad day, I want to go to alcohol. Not really even if they have a craving for it. It's just kind of a way to numb out. So creating other coping skills is really helpful. And also just, questioning your identity and your beliefs that you have around alcohol. For example, I identified as a wine lover and someone who loved to have an evening bottle of wine. And I really had to start to question those beliefs and change my identity. I really wanted to be a normal, moderate social drinker. That was kind of my ideal relationship with alcohol, someone who could have, a drink or two a couple times a week and nothing more than that. And so I really had to challenge the beliefs I had about alcohol's role in my life and my identity as it relates to alcohol. So all of these things are best done gradually on the Sinclair Method, little by little over time. That's why in our program, we typically tell people to give this treatment a full year, because it really does need time to work. But the longer someone is on naltrexone, typically it works better and better and better, even if they went through a honeymoon phase and their drinking goes back up. But we do have to meet the medicine halfway and work to incrementally change our habits, coping skills, and things like that. Hope that answers your question. And as always, you can learn more about this treatment or get started with the link in my profile. Bye for now.